our second algorithm that we have here is called repeated subtraction. And I've seen this used in some curriculums where it might be called something different, but the same general idea. Now, I do want to make a note that we have had another, we have used that word repeated subtraction before. So we can see we use repeated subtraction here. It's going to be the same general idea. You're going to know which one to use based on how big the numbers are. So in our first repeated subtraction, we already saw it was really small numbers. Only had to subtract like 4 times, and I got my answer. For this other method, we're still going to be using subtraction, but our answers would be really big. For instance, I'm going to rework the problem from up above with our long division, so I'm going to get 145. You're not going to want to subtract 5 145 times. You're going to want to use this other method here of repeated subtraction. So like I said, I'm going to keep with that same problem we had above. So we know the answer, but just another possible way to get it. Because remember, if we subtract a whole bunch of times, that is the same thing as dividing. All right, so I'm going to choose numbers that will make this go a lot quicker. I'm going to think about my place values. We are dividing by 5, so I'm going to put 5 in each one of my place values. The largest place value that I have in this problem is the hundreds place. So I am going to subtract 500, and that would leave me 225. I subtracted one of those, so I'm going to put a 1 in the hundreds place. I can't subtract any more 500s because if I did, I would have negative numbers, and we don't have those yet. We haven't learned anything about negative numbers. So now I'm going to subtract a 5 in the tens place. So that would look like 50. So I'm going to subtract 50. And this one, I can keep going. I can subtract 50 more than one time. You might be asking, well, how do I know how many times? Just keep going until it would not be possible to subtract 50 anymore. You would get those negative numbers. So I'm just going to keep going. I didn't give myself a lot of space to work this problem, so I'm going to have to kind of keep making new rows. And when I get down to this last one, I can't subtract 50 again because I would end up in negative numbers. So let's count how many times I did this. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I put a 4 in the tens place. I've used the hundreds place, the tens place. Now I'll use the ones place. Some people would know how many times I could subtract 5 off. That's in the ones place. If you don't, that's okay. We'll actually do it. And we know this one doesn't have a remainder, so I'm going to stop when I get to 0. Again, I'm going to count how many times I subtracted. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So a 5 goes in the ones place. So my answer, like we already knew, was 145. While we're on this page, we'll go ahead and kind of do this word problem down below. So a word problem that uses division. Miss C purchased $80,000 life insurance policy at a rate of $15 for each 1,000. So basically, she's buying these in $1,000 units. You can think about if she had this $80,000 here, if somebody could only give it to her in $1,000 bills. So each denomination had to be 1,000. So that means that she bought 80 units worth of this life insurance policy. If she wanted to get a $50,000 policy, that would be 50 units worth. If she got a $27,000 policy, that would be 27 units worth. So she bought 80 units. Each one of them was $15. So I'm going to type in 80 times 15. That would give me 1,200. Now up here in the directions, it says she pays monthly installments. So monthly makes me think I need to divide by 12 because there are 12 months in the year. So that means she pays $100 per month. This is called a multi-step problem because we had to do several different operations. We divided twice. So we've got one division and another division, and we also had to multiply. So we had to do several different operations. which makes these a little bit more complicated. You might not see when you start going in all the way to the end. But as I was working, I thought about what the problems meant, what those words meant in terms of my operations, and came up with the steps to do.